Welcome back. If you're new here, this is my ROTTEN Triumph Stag that I paid just £2,000 for. And in the previous episodes, I have put blood, sweat and tears into trying to fix this wreck of a car. The other side is basically solid. The sills have been done, the floors have been done, the rear wing has been done. We're just doing the same on this side, but we're doing things slightly differently. The other side I've sort of done it a bit more of an old school way, putting grease between sort of some of the weld seams. But on this side, I'm going to be putting weld through primer. So in 30 years time, when the car needs restoring again, the next owner, I guess, can say what's better. Anyway, let's crack on. Today we need to get the sill on this side, we need to finish off repairing this back arch inner panel, and then we need to get the back wing on. Let's crack on.
Now for all you regular viewers, you'll notice things have moved on slightly. Now mostly off camera I repaired the inner sill. So much easier to do when you've done the floors first. The outriggers act as a really good guide of where the downwards lip needs to be, making it a far quicker repair. Let's rejoin the action with the rear wing damage.
Previously, I did say that there was quite a bit of filler there and I wasn't sure what was behind it. Now, my dad came in the garage on his own. We had a bit of a row about this, so I'll leave the judgment to you lot. Basically, he's gone at the filler with a chisel. If we look even closer here, he's added to the distortion quite a bit. Well, I think he has anyway. He's even put a hole in the good metal back here. There was a hole somewhere else, there as well. Nice big chip. Two big dinges that obviously weren't there before have been added. Now, it won't be that much of a problem, and he says it's not that much of a problem. But to the rear of the panel, there's another skin here, so you can't really get to the back of it properly. So, I'm just hoping I can somehow pull that out and fix it. Right, anyway, let's get this back wing cut off, and then we can see how bad this side is and what we're dealing with.
And so here I go with overlaying the new panel over the old panel. I then scored round it with a scribe just to give me a nice little cut line. Obviously it's going to be a bit of a vague one for now, it will need a bit more proper measuring once the old panel is completely off. Obviously using the angle grinder on this one, great tool, makes really light work of it. Overall though, this panel is not too bad, just like the other side. You could almost get away with just repairing the lip and not changing the whole panel. But you know, I'd rather do it properly, do it once, don't want that paint bubbling through a few months after painting it, because that would be a real nightmare.
Yeah, as you can see there, nice amount of surface rust that gathers between the two panels. So say, I'm just going to have to put a little cut right into there. Do see other people do it. So in that stone impact zone of the wheel arch, two lips sticking out there, right in the impact zone. You're just asking for the rust to come back.
So yeah, off with that crusty lip.
Yeah, I'm really surprised with this. Looking really good. Hopefully now it just all slots back together quite nice and easy.
And here's a little clip of my dad tidying up the B-post. After cutting, there was still a bit of a skin there.
I've just stripped off all the paint off this back wing and it actually doesn't look too bad. The actual original panel, it was full of grazings all over where the old filler had sunk in, but it seems like someone, instead of sanding it down properly and taking all the old paint off, they just skimmed filler over the old paint. It was literally like an old tree full of rings and all sorts, but I've got it off and it is actually reasonably straight, other than down here where it's really warped. Obviously the inner arch here, it also isn't too bad either. A couple little pinholes, but those should be easy enough to get welded up. But yeah, we're going to start down here anyway, where the warping is. A little bit there where my dad's hacked at the old filler with a chisel, not ideal. So yeah, I'm going to get my homemade puller on it, which is just some nuts. I sort of weld them on and I pull them out best as I can. In an ideal world, I'd like to get a hammer behind it. There's like two skins there, so you can't actually get anything to it. So we're just going to try and do it the best we can, and hopefully there's not too much filler in it by the end of it.
So here we go once again, making the most of what we can do with our limited tools. Obviously you can get a proper dent puller with all the hooks that individually weld on, but those are expensive, and I also don't actually have the storage to store any more tools like that I won't use that often. So we're making do with what we have. In this case, some M8 bolts, an M8 bar, a few washers and a big socket. But yeah, as you can see, it does the job and should hopefully straighten it out pretty well. Pretty soon into doing this, I realised I'd only be able to straighten it out so far. With the panel being cut, there's a lot of flex in there. So once the new panel's on, it'll firm it up a bit more, and then I'll do a bit more dent pulling then. But for now, I've done a pretty good job. So into the prep for getting that rear wing on. I just need to repair the arch in 2 places. I don't think it's quite as bad as the other side, but with this being the offside of the car, it doesn't sit in the gutter, and so it doesn't get all the awful road salt and dirt that you get on all the guttering. So yeah, it's actually looking pretty good.
That is the arch all welded up, lost the lip underneath, a real rust trap, and they don't fit to the pattern part panels. The original ones don't anyway. I don't know if the aftermarket ones would, but we've not tried that. The sill also fits pretty nice. I'm just going to have to go along and start juggling now. This is well through primer on here, ready to go. I'm going to use that instead of grease. With the juggler, it's a 10mm step, 10mm. So it just needs trimming down in a few places.
Once trimmed down, I could then have a go at juggling. Obviously from the time lapse you can see I'm really struggling with it.
Right, on this side there seems to be like an insulation pad underneath, like a rubbery textury thing. It's like a big square. I don't know if that fell off the other side or what, but I'm going to need to heat gun that off because I have just made a real hash of the juggling there. It's a mess.
So here we go with the heat gun. I'd like to say it worked really well and it was dead easy, but it was awful. It was like this really thick, hard, sludgy type stuff. Yeah, never really seen that stuff before.
There we go, that is us all juggled in there. The line is a little bit wonky at some points, but there's this backing that stuff on. I've tried to get as much of it off as I can with the heat gun, but it's still struggling because there's some residue there. It doesn't really matter if it's a little bit wonky anyway, because the panel is going to sit exactly on the paint line there, and as long as the juggle's in front, it's like a little bit of a gully to weld into, so that will be filled up with weld. Anyway, right, so I need to get the sill on, and after a load of swearing I have got the sill gap pretty good. I'm not sure about the end and the position of that, but I'm hoping it's going to be about right. Just going to get the back wing on now, just double check it fits. That's one way there of not messing up your door gap.
And once more, a little bit of deja vu. Nothing too hard here, just a few plug welds.
As you will have seen, I've now welded the back end on just at the top there for now, so it still gives us movement. And you will see a little bit, move this end a little bit here with the little bit of flex I've still got. But as I'm starting to weld, it's actually starting to sink in a little bit here. So I'm going to need to pull it out a little bit.
Basically what I'm going to do here is hold it out, then with the sill in the correct position, I will weld it onto the flap that is on the A-pillar. This will hold it out, keeping the door and the sill in good orientation. Then when I clamp the inner sill and outer sill together on the lip, the 2 lips will just fold together rather than messing up my door gap. And so with the sill on, it's just time for a couple last repairs, that is to the B-posts and surrounding areas. These are the last jobs, and then I can finally get that back wing on.
We're finally seem to be getting somewhere. This side's taking a little bit longer with the crash damage at the back. Now with this, I've got it fitting now pretty well. I've done the repair to the B-post. It will need finishing off in a little bit, but that will be fine for now. The issue I've got here with this is that it seems to curve in a bit too much on the original panel compared to the new panel. Now I don't know if it's because of the foam backing, sort of sound deadening stuff that was underneath, and then I've sort of bent it around a little bit while I've been juggling. Or it's the fact that you can't get this bit joggled up here. So I'm just going to trim this back to the panel there so it's butt weld. Yeah, other than that, it's pretty much nearly ready to go on this. And that's that there, looking pretty well. Say it's out in a few places, but overall if we look down it, that's pretty good. I've had to grab hold of it and pull it out quite a bit here and there. It is clamped in place down there at the minute, so it shouldn't fall off. And the only other issue bit is this bit here. There's still a bit of warping, but if I pull that out, then it does come to it. So I'm going to have to pull that out. It'll sit nicely in the groove. There is still a bit of a dent here, and then another bit there, but I'm just going to need pulling out after, just to get a blob in the middle, and then I can do a little bit more metal work around it. Yeah, I think I can get the welder on it now. One last thing to check is get this door here, shut it, and check the gap. It's not too bad. Right.
And finally we're able to start welding the back wing. To push this out I used a brick. I wedged it in behind the old panel, pushing it out towards the new panel. And overall it actually worked really well.
And there we go, that is us now mostly welded on. Unfortunately my time lapse didn't start, so missed out on a lot of the welding there. In the end I just wedged a brick behind that to push it out. It will need a little bit of pulling, which I'm going to do in a minute before I carry on finishing off the welds there. But overall I'd probably say it is looking very sooty compared to using the grease.
But then at the same time, the welds themselves seem to melt a little bit quicker, if that makes sense. So you didn't need to hold the gun on for as long. So I think there'll be less distortion, but I really won't know until I've ground them down. And so here we go. First of all, going over it with the stone disc, followed by a sandpaper flappy disc. Obviously there's still some welding to be done, but I'm going to need to pull out the dents first.
And there we go. On camera it's quite hard to pick up, but I think there's slightly more heat distortion compared to the other side. But again, we'll probably have to wait until I drag the car out again and get it outside until I can properly tell. Because that side of the car's right up against the wall at the minute. Even though they've melted in a bit better than the other side, there seems to be slightly more distortion. Maybe the grease keeps the panel a little bit cooler, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to box all this off, finish off all this, tighten up that I've still got to do, a little bit more pulling there and whatnot. But yeah, I think I'll call it a video here because it's been, what, 60 days since I've actually got one out. I've had a lot go wrong recently. Join me next time where I'll either be finishing off the rust down here at the bottom or I'll be onto the windscreen panel. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, press that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.